Hello, Royalers. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I want to thank everyone for joining in today, for all the comments, for all the views, the likes, the subscribes. Thank you so much. Now, many of you know I am a Texas girl and I love a great cowboy hat. Here I am during our just recent fair. But we also love wearing great hats when we go to the Kentucky Derby, kind of spinoff. And that's what today's lesson is all about. The biggest horse race in the world is known as the Run for the Roses or the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. Today, it's mostly known as a millionaire spot. But when the Kentucky Derby started on May the 17th, 1875, in Louisville, Kentucky, 15 of the 13 jockeys were black. The trainers, the owners, the farmers, everyone was black in the Kentucky Derby. And the first winner of the Kentucky Derby was Oliver Lewis, and he was only 19 years old. And that's the same year, 1875, that this man right here, his name is Isaac Burns Murphy, began his training to be a horse rider. Well, a championship horse rider because he won the Kentucky Derby 3 times. Now, he started training when he was 14 years old. He was born in Fayette, Kentucky, and his mom's name was America. Reportedly, she was a slave on a plantation called the Pleasant Green, and she was there, and Isaac was there until 1864 when the plantation fell. So she was a part of a kind of like a refugee camp called the Union Army Depot at Camp Nelson. Isaac's father's name is Jerry, and they don't really clarify if they were together. But Jerry wasn't a slave like America and Isaac was, and he fought in the Civil War. He passed away in 1865 as a Confederate prisoner of war, and he fought in some really decisive battles, according to history. From their army depot, America and Isaac, they went to live with her father, and he was in Lexington. His name was Green Murphy. He was an auctioneer and a bell ringer, and Isaac actually changed his name to Murphy in honor of his grandfather. And this was the same time in 1867 that he met a very important person who would really train him and be also a father figure and mentor in his life. His name was Eli Jordan, and he was a prominent horse trainer. He worked for Williams and Owens stables, and it said his mother, America, worked there as well. He taught Isaac everything he knew, and by 14, Isaac entered his first race, and this was in 1875. From that race to his last, Isaac won more horse races than any man in history. Of the 1,400 or more races, it is said that he won 500 or more. And he was the perfect size for a jockey. He was said to be only 70 pounds and under 4 foot tall. So that's usually the sizes of jockey. Murphy rode in 11 Kentucky Derbies and he won 3 of them. He rode a horse called Buchanan in 1884, Riley in 1890, and Kingsman in 1891. And Kingsman was the only horse co-owned by a black person. Black people are all over the sport. Isaac is the only African American man who has won the Kentucky Derby, the Kentucky Oaks, and the Clark Handicap, and he won all of those in 1884. One of his most famous races took place on June the 25th, 1890. It was at a place called Sheepshead Bay. He was racing against a jockey named Edward Snapper Garrison. It was billed as the best black jockey against the best white jockey. Race as much? Anyway, when the race was over, the photographer John C. Hemmett captured the first ever instance of a photo finish when Isaac won by a hair. But he wasn't finished winning. He also won the Latonia Derby 5 times and 4 of the first 5 runnings of the American Derby. Murphy was known for his riding excellence, his honesty, and his loyalty, and he was known for being paid. He was one of the highest paid athletes at the time. He was making between $15,000 and $20,000 annually, which would have been around $500,000 a year. It said he and his wife Lucy lived a very lavish life. He owned horses, trained them, and raced them. All was really going well for Isaac, but of course, there had to be some drama, and here it came, and it really ruined the rest of his career. The year was 1890, and the race was in Monmouth, New Jersey. Now, people said that Murphy appeared to be a little inebriated at the race, and they said that he was unstable on his feet. Now, Murphy didn't perform well in this race, and he denied it. He said that he had been poisoned, and that's the reason he was unstable on his feet. Well, they tried to do an investigation, but in the end, really, it ruined his reputation. He was known as a drunk after that, even though before that he was known for being honest and loyal. But now all of a sudden he's a drunk. So he started racing less and less, and he eventually retired. But shockingly, at only 35 years old, on February the 16th, 1896, the horseman, the race master, passed away from pneumonia. The world was absolutely shocked. And what also shocked them was by 1901 or 1902, it was the last time a black person would win in a major race because racism had entered the sport. No black jockey would ride in a major race from 1921 to 2000 when Marlon St. Julian took seventh place. What used to be a Sunday outing and was something that black people took very much pride in and did very well in. And for the jockeys who were racing, again, 13 of the 15 jockeys at the first Kentucky Derby were black. They were able to access wealth. Look at these beautiful men and women, black men and women, who used to attend the Kentucky Derby in their Sunday finery, looking beautiful and looking great in their great big hats. So the elite blacks would go to the Kentucky Derby and watch these black athletes participate. And then all of a sudden, it was gone. After Isaac passed away, he was buried in an unmarked grave. And then he was reinterred in 1967, and he was moved across from the Man of War horse, and this was the most winningest horse in Kentucky Derby history. Then he was moved again to the Kentucky Horse Park, and so he again sits right across from that Man of War statue. That's where he is interred today, and here are some wonderful monuments to his memory. Not only did they do also monuments to him, but the Kentucky Derby also has an exhibit to the black men of horse racing. So finally, they're getting the accolades that they do deserve. So if you're ever in Kentucky, you stop by the Kentucky Derby, be sure to go in and see this beautiful monument to people like Isaac Murphy and Oliver Lewis. So where does horse racing stand in the black community today? Well, this is Greg Harbit, and he is a co-owner of a horse called Necker Island. So we are getting back into it, but horse racing is a very expensive sport. But we have to give shout out to Isaac. He opened the door for many other black riders to follow in his footsteps. And before we became so urban, a lot of black people did live on farms and they did farming. They raised horses, they trained horses, and we have forgotten so much of our history and where we came from. So I really hope you enjoyed this particular lecture. I really did. As I told you, I am a country girl, a Texas girl, and I love animals, and well, not animals. I love horses, and I ride them, but I don't want to raise them. But there are so many people out there who before us did. That's what Royal Black and Elite is all about. Finding those people who made a difference long before we even knew about their history. And this horse riding business has been really hidden in history because, like I said, from 1921 to 2000, black people weren't even riding in major horse races. And because of that, that part of our history has been lost. And not only that, the game have been lost because I believe the other people saw an opportunity to make money and kind of just pushed us out of that field. But I am glad that I was able to pay some homage to these great men today. I hope that you have enjoyed another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I've included some end cards, some other videos. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, would you please press subscribe, like, and share, and be sure to turn on your notification button so you know about my next upload. Our lectures are for entertainment and educational purposes only, and my sources were Britannica and the Kentucky Horse, America's Best Racing. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Check out my next video.